People don't realize how uncomfortable they are until they actually wear something that fits their body. Women's apparel, you see a lot more size inclusivity. Men's, you don't. Men's underwear is traditionally designed like dudes are all a Ken doll, like they don't have genitals. And so it'd be like if all women's bras were all like a training bra, but women are different shapes and sizes, guys are different shapes and sizes. But really, there hasn't been a lot of change in the way that men's apparel in general, and then specifically men's underwear is designed. So that's where we developed our ABCD pouch size classification. And then we go from extra small to 5XL as far as waist sizes. The thing is, like last holiday season, I got really strapped for cash. I was struggling, like, how are we going to pay for everything? How am I going to finance? We're profitable, but how am I going to cash flow everything? And so I was literally praying. I'm like praying to God. How am I going to do this? How am I going to get through the next 2 months from a cash flow standpoint? And I distinctly had an answer from God that said, you need to live stream. I was like, on TikTok. That was the answer to my prayer. I'm like, crap, that sucks.
The Content Capitalist Podcast.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Content Capitalist Podcast. Today, my guest, his name is Jared Mortensen. Now, when I first met him, I realized that there was something he was doing differently that I'd never been involved with. I've kind of seen it. I didn't know how it worked. But just a tiny bit of background here before we kick this off. He comes from a background working at Boeing, Spirit Aerosystems, Textron, Koch Industries, Cosmic Pet. A lot of these brands that we recognize that are really global in terms of technology and engineering. And now he's turned all that experience and skill into something else that we're going to unpack together. Unpack, that already sounds like a double meaning there. But Jared, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I appreciate it. So I'm super excited to be here to chat.
Awesome. So Jared, when we talk about your background and some of the things that you've done, I do want to get into that. But before we lose the audience on like, oh, this is going to be a boring kind of a podcast, give us a quick rundown on what it is that you're doing right now. What is the business? What's the product? And why is it interesting?
Okay. Yeah. So completely different product. And so usually when I start talking about the product, people just like, I can see them laughing in my eyes. But, so men's apparel traditionally is not very size inclusive. And so women's apparel, you see a lot more size inclusivity. Men's, you don't. So we have developed a ABCD pouch size classification for a guy's package for men's underwear, right? And so men's underwear is traditionally designed like dudes are all a Ken doll, like they don't have genitals. So it'd be like if all women's bras were all like a training bra, but women are different shapes and sizes, guys are different shapes and sizes. But really, there hasn't been a lot of change in the way that men's apparel in general, and then specifically men's underwear is designed. And so that's where we developed our ABCD pouch size classification. And then we go from extra small to 5XL as far as waist sizes. And so we have literally 9 waist sizes and 4 pouch sizes. So we have 36 sizes. And so we're the most size inclusive men's underwear brand really out in the world, absent doing something custom. So it's exciting to be able to provide a lot of options for guys. Does provide a lot of complexity as far as marketing and inventory management and product development, those types of things. So that's what we do, right? Selling on Amazon 3 years, and then Shopify, have our Shopify website, and then TikTok. We've been TikTok for about a year, top TikTok underwear brand in the US. So
That's amazing. And I want to go so deep into that. And you know how it is then when people start talking about things like, dandruff and itchy scalp, all of a sudden you feel itchy, right? When you talk about your product, every time I'm just like, is it too tight? Is it the right fit? And like, I'm like checking in with myself and wondering, do I have the right size? And like, but that question, just like if I ask you right now, like, how's your left pinky toe feeling right now? Now you're like, oh, my left pinky toe is, it's a little cold, or it's a little squished, or a little sweaty. But that thought didn't cross your mind until the right context was presented. And what you've done when people watch your show or you even talk about it, they might laugh, but they're also checking in with themselves like, is my package really, how is it actually feeling in the moment? And it's happening right now. And I don't know if the listeners are also, checking in with themselves, but I want to dig into that psychology a little bit later. But let's start off with that background with some of these brands that we all know and we see on, we see the ticker tapes, we see them in the news, and you were a part of that. How'd you get started?
yeah, so my career path has been like anything but linear, right? And so decided I loved aerospace, so I put myself through college working at an aerospace company as a machinist and a programmer. So I programmed big equipment that was making big components for Boeing and Lockheed, and so that's how I put myself through school. And then I was able to leverage that into an internship at Boeing, in between my junior and senior year. So then that's how I ended up going. I'm in Wichita, Kansas. So that's why I ended up moving here, was to work for Boeing. And then Spirit Aerosystems spun off of that. So I went there. But so a lot of jobs in operations, finance, supply chain, I really was able to move around. I tell people I went through my own job or career training program, rotation program, where I rotated around to a bunch of different roles. Then I actually left to go to an oil and gas company, Koch Industries, here in town. So they're one of the largest private companies in the United States. So did that for a couple of years, then got pulled back into Textron, aerospace, got recruited to come back and work there. And so I had a number of different senior management roles in supply chain, finance director for their operations, went through a major merger there, buying Beechcraft. So if you're familiar with their brands, they have Cessna, Beechcraft, are the largest brands there. They've literally made half the airplanes ever in the world. So super, super cool to work there. And then I got recruited to work at a pet toy company, like totally random, right? So I had a headhunter reach out to me. We had this private equity backed pet toy company here in Wichita that needed help integrating 5 different acquisitions. And so I came as the VP of administration to help really build the back end to that. So I had finance, HR, customer service, analytics, and so helped put that together. And one of the acquisitions was actually a couple of guys had started selling on Amazon. So they were doing cat scratchers and dog beds, and they went from nothing to $18 million a year in 6 years. And so I really got exposed to marketing and e-commerce from those guys, because most of my career has been industrial manufacturing, right? So marketing is totally different. Like when you're at a Boeing or a Spirit or something, or a Textron even. And I was never on that side. I was always finance operations. And so being at the pet products company with my first really closer taste, where I was on the leadership team and exposed to a lot of that stuff, but I still, I didn't have any direct experience at the time, but really got a taste for what they're doing and got really excited and yeah, I think I can go and do this e-commerce thing and just take some of the tools and the processes that I learned from the e-commerce team that we brought on at the pet products company. And I always have product ideas, like lots of different things bouncing around my head. I'm an engineer by design. And so I'm always designing stuff, looking at problems and how do we fix different problems that people have. And yeah, as we look to exit, the company I worked for was sold to another private equity company. And so we were looking to exit. So I told my wife, hey, I think it's time that we start a men's underwear company. And she's like, you're crazy. You don't know anything about that. I'm like, oh, I've got Google. I can figure it out. So anyway, so that's how we kind of end up there. So
That's cool. I want to get into that startup phase. But before we do, a couple things you said caught my attention. Number one, you switched quite a few times between different companies. What was your motivation for switching?
Well, I have a short attention span. And so every 18 months, my mind wants to go and I'm ready for another challenge. I want to do something else, right? So a lot of the jobs I was in, I would start the job, I would really love it, and I'd do everything I can to automate the processes. So I just didn't have to do the routine type of things. And so it was really good, right? So we were able to automate a lot of different things that we were doing. And yeah, but I really just want, what's the next challenge, right? So I want to do something, what's the next thing that I can do and learn about. And so I'm always trying to learn and grow, just personally, and then just intellectually, I want to have a new challenge. So
I'm just kind of stepping back here and thinking about it. Like, if you were to look back at your career trajectory, do you think that switching around, that rapid switching, helped you more or hindered you in terms of career growth?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at purely from a corporate standpoint, probably hindering, right? But looking from an entrepreneurial standpoint,
Oh, you're an entrepreneur through and through. Like, no wonder you can't stay in one company for too long.
well, yeah, so it doesn't. I don't always play well in big corporates, right? Because I'm trying to design and change things, and so that scares a lot of people, right? And a lot of people within big corporates are risk averse, right? And so when you have somebody that comes in, it's like, hey, let's try this and try that. They're like, then they start thinking about their performance plan or either their budget and just their quarterly reviews or annual reviews, and that's really what they're thinking about versus hey, how do we go and change the way that we're operating, and that just doesn't play very, very, very well. And so people just don't want to move really fast in a lot of those businesses, and so it's hard working in a big enterprise if you want to do a lot more. But yeah, so part of it, I was able, as I moved around to the different roles in the different companies, I was able to get backgrounds in supply chain, manufacturing, finance, a lot of different areas. And so just train myself on somebody else's dime. I mean, they're making money, and so we're adding value. And so it's not like it was just taking there, but you're adding value to those businesses as you do that. Because I mean, I was in a lot of cases I was recruited to go to those different roles, or asked to move into those different roles because they had a particular problem they wanted to deal with. Right. For example, like when I was at Boeing and there was the Spirit Act, when Spirit spun off from Boeing, nobody in the business knew how to do financial statements or cash flow forecasts or things like that. So the finance VP came to me and says, "Hey, can you theoretically, if we were an independent company, can you go build some financial statements?" And so literally I was the youngest finance employee in the business, but they said, "Hell, I think he can go and kind of figure this out." And so oftentimes I've been given the projects where nobody knew how to do it. And so, oh, Jared will go figure it out.
So you're the problem solver.
Yeah, I probably, fix things and just go learn in different areas. And so that's kind of been my forte. And that's why I was given a lot of different opportunities, to different businesses. So treated very well everywhere I'd worked. And so it's been great. And so left really well with everywhere that we've worked. But yeah, and I did have a business. I left for a couple of years and had a furniture business. So I left Spirit for a couple of years and then tried doing some importation with some furniture. And then that housing market crashed in 2007. And so people stopped buying pool tables and those types of things. So then I came back to Spirit. So I had to build up more capital before I took another run at it again. So
tell me about that first run. Like, what was your investment in, and did you in the end come out break even, below, above? Like if you were to look at all the plus minus,
yeah, we just broke even on that. So I was going to get rich selling mattresses. So I moved to Boise, Idaho, and we're importing mattresses, pool tables, bedroom dining furniture, and we would just sell it out of a warehouse. So I could give people like super low prices. And it's kind of cool. We do like private party ads in like the newspapers. And so this is kind of probably my first foray really into marketing. And so we would just do Craigslist ads or ads like in the newspaper for selling. It'd be like, brand new pool table, list is retail $7,000, will sell for $1,500. And so then people would just call us off those ads. And then we would set up a time for them to come in and buy look at the table, and we'd actually schedule a time. Say, okay, I can meet with you at 9 or I can meet with you at 11. What time works best for you? And so you'd actually schedule them. And so then they would actually show up versus if you just say, "Hey, I'm going to be open from 8 until 5, like they're going to get busy.
Yeah,
and they're
then
not gonna
it doesn't feel as bespoke, right? It's just
yeah.
like,
So
oh,
you
you're
lock
just
them into a
another
commitment. Plus it's
retailer.
like, hey, it's a FOMO type thing. Like they're going to miss out, right? If they don't show up and get this deal, right? And so they feel like it's kind of sketchy. They're showing up to this warehouse park and they're going to look at this, like half the people think it's like stolen, like fenced goods, right? But we're able to give them a lot better deal than what they could get at the store. Usually like half the price of a retail price on higher end stuff, right? So it's really nice hand carved pool tables, like professional grade tables that we could give them for half price. All the bedroom furniture and the dining was all solid cherry, like really high end construction. But we just didn't have the markups going right from the factory, just direct to consumer. So it was really
Were
direct
these
to consumer people we could do.
Were these
Yeah, it was all
local
local.
factories?
Oh
Wow.
no, it's all well. The mattresses are coming from the U.S., but everything else is coming from China. So the pool tables, dining furniture, we buy everything a container at a time, and we bring it a 40-foot container and then unload it.
How did you get the idea to go to China and source this material? Was this because of your previous workings with the airline companies that you kind of understood about international supply chains, or did you just get a harebrained idea, say, I'm going to go fly out to Shenzhen or Guangdong or wherever and start looking, or Alibaba? Because that's a big step to import large things like that. And each one is a considerable investment and a logistical feat, because I also do import export from China. And I know it's not too easy if you've had no experience there. So how did that develop?
Well, I was part of a group, so we'd already lined up the suppliers, and so I just became part of that kind of. So it was in essence buying from a distributor. So you'd place the orders directly with the factory, and then the distributor would just get a markup. But it was like their brands, their designs, and everything. So it was not like a private label, like it was our label. It was this other.
So there's already an
distributor.
organized system that you work within,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
okay,
so it was more of a
that's a
plug
good
and play.
start
So
point.
it's more like, hey, just go set up the warehouse in the city. Here's the operating system. So it's kind of like entrepreneurial light, right? And so it's like, hey, you own this thing, you run the thing, but there's already this kind of, it was almost like a franchise in a way. And you're just going to it's just a franchise without a buy-in. So you just go and set up the spot. So like most of the inventory was actually covered by a partner. And then I just owned a portion of the pool table inventory.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. You went through the various corporations, had this stint with the furniture, and then went back. And then why did you one day wake up and say, honey, I want to do bespoke custom size underwear for men as a business? And we're going to bet the farm and, if you don't mind me mentioning, the livelihood of yourself, your wife, and your 7 children on men's underwear.
Well, one, my wife has a lot of faith, and so and she's really patient, and so and she's not very needy, right? And so like financially and things like that, which helps, right? Now she was concerned from a risk standpoint. Are we going to be able to make the mortgage? We're going to be able to pay for everything. Luckily we did have some money from the prior firm. When we exited there, we did have some equity in the pet products company, so that we were able to, have that. So we could go a year without having to draw a salary or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of ideas, a lot of different product ideas, right? And so, but we really have to look at, okay, what does the runway look like on these? Now, I have no background in apparel, in fashion, right? And how does that all work? And so there was a significant amount of risk, but we did get it spun up. We started it when I was still at the pet products company, right? So my wife we're 50-50 on the business. And so we actually got things, it took me about 6 months of development with the initial products, because I think I did samples with probably 50 or 60 different factories. Some already had like designs that they on Alibaba, they looked very close, because I mean, this is all during COVID, right? And so like, it's not like I could go there and visit any of the factories in China. And so like, I'm doing all the design during COVID, and then just reaching out to companies on Alibaba that look like they might have a product that's similar, and then doing samples with them. So sending my designs and then getting the samples back, and then testing, the quality, the fit.
Testing, is this like
price.
you just trying them on and after a day you say, how did it feel? Like, is that,
Yeah,
or did you
that is
actually, yeah,
30
that's stage one.
seconds.
But the whole point is that you're trying to make it specific for different sizes. So do you have a group of friends and you like, okay, and you got their measurements, and then, or like, how did the testing work so that you knew these different sizes with different packages so well?
Well, so I mean, there's scientific research, right? So as far as like looking at the distribution of volume of guys' genitals, right? And so there's a lot of scientific research out there regarding like size. I mean, there's a lot of things people talk about race, and there's actually the size distribution is pretty normal globally, right? And so that's what you're looking at, because when we look at size, it's a total package, right? So if we talk it's a total package deal, right? You look at the total twig to berry ratio, and so some people are
You got to
larger
repeat that one
twigs,
more
some,
time
yeah.
slowly in case someone missed it. That one that one
the
phrase that
the
got my
total
attention when, yeah, go
the
ahead.
twig to berry ratio, yeah.
Yes,
Mm.
good.
Yeah. So some people focus on the twigs so much, and others the berry. So some people just all the volumes on the berry side, some people on the twig, right? And others it's a mix, right? And so there's scientific research out there regarding looking at the volume. And so that's how, when we think about the pouch, because our pouch design is a single pouch, right? So everything just goes into one pouch. There's some products out there that have multiple pouches. We don't really like those, because there's a lot of seams, and you have to solve a jigsaw puzzle to put your pants on. So we just like
Multiple
something that,
pouches?
yeah, they
How
have
does
2
that work?
pouches or 3 pouches, or I mean, they have, yeah, there's all sorts of designs out there. So, yeah, there's a lot
Feels
of
like a
crazy stuff.
contortion act.
Yeah, so some people really like those types of things, but yeah, we're not really into that. We want function, and so it really fits really well, but you don't have to. I mean, it's complex enough to actually come up with different pouch sizes, and so if you had multiple pouches, it just makes it a lot more complex, right? So we just looked at statistically what different sizes were, and tried to create a volume shape that would work for that. So yeah, but we just started. So we had this A, B, C, and then D size pouch. We started with just a D size, right? So when we're talking about like we're attacking billion dollar businesses, global businesses, right? So what's the point of the spear? Where are you going to attack them, right? And so the upper size of that range is where there was very, very few options, right? And so that's where we really started first, or attacked, was on the D size. So it was the plus size. So our average size for the US male is a B size pouch. Then you have A on the smaller side, then C and D on the larger side. So again, similar to a women's bra cup sizing methodology. And so we were just, for the first 18 months, we just did the D size. So that's where we started. And then we incremented back as far as the availability. So we actually built demand. Like we had people searching on Amazon for a B pouch like a year before we even launched a B pouch. So it's super cool. We created demand for a branded keyword search term before we'd even launched it. We just started with the D. But yeah, I mean, like I'm a large, right? So I can test a large. Now I have family members and others that can test the different waist sizes. I'm not going to I didn't survey everybody on what their package size was, right? That's a little TMI, right? So what we did is, I mean, we created the different sizes, and I did, once I locked down some factories, I did the POs and I started selling them, right? So I did, small MOQ orders enough so I could get launched on Amazon, and then we started getting feedback, right? And so the thing is, when you're a single person operation, you can iterate a lot faster, right? So literally we started, like, you launch on Amazon and we got sales our first day. I mean, we started selling, and so we started getting feedback really quickly from
Did you run
different.
ads to get those
Yeah,
sales, or was it just,
yeah, we're
tell me
running
about that?
ads. You gotta
No, but you said on
on
day one you
Amazon.
made sales. So how much did you bet on yourself on day one when you put that out there in terms of the exposure when you ran ads financially?
Well, I mean, I started low, like low bid, and it's really long tail keywords, right? So that's, we live in the long tail, right? And so we're not going to compete on men's underwear, right? You're not even going to compete it, right? It's men's underwear with pouch, or men's bulge enhancing underwear. So terms that would be used to search for very specific larger underwear for well-endowed individuals, because we're attacking on that D size, right? So that's where we're attacking the beast, is where they're the weakest. There's the fewest options. It's the most underserved. Now it's a small portion of the population, right? But they're the ones that are most underserved, right? So that's where we attack there, even though that's only 10% of the market. They're the underserved ones, and so we went there first. And so the bids were really low when we first started running the ads on Amazon 3 years ago. I was paying 10 to 15 cents a bid. Like my high bids were like 30 cents or something like that. So, and conversion rates were okay. I mean, we converted 5 to 10%. But so, I mean, we started small just to learn. So we're talking 50 to $100 a day as far as the budgets that we kind of started with, and then ramped up. But we got sales, and we started getting feedback really quickly. So the thing is, like, some of it is luck, right? We just happened to pick a good niche, and we have had some initial customers that are early adopters, and they quickly started providing us feedback, and then they became missionaries as well. And so some in marketing, you have the mercenaries, you have the missionaries, and so we had some customers that really became missionaries for us. So they would literally go, and they proactively sent us like 2, 3, 4 page write-ups. So this guy, it's like a 4X or 5XL waist, giving us feedback, like dated, like minute by minute, like rundown of how his day went, going through different activities and how things felt. And so then based upon that, like, we were making adjustments on the patterns, like on different sizes, right? So maybe we're good on the large, but we're going to adjust this on a 3X and that on a 4X, right? Based off that customer feedback.
That's interesting. Now, you're at this point, you've got stuff going on Amazon, and it started, turning over some sales. At what point did you realize, hey, this is the main thing, and like, this is my business, and I'm switching career paths? Maybe not just necessarily the time, but was there a trigger? Was there a certain milestone? Was it something internally, like with your family, your wife? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, personally, I was fully committed before I even sold on Amazon, before I had my first sale,
Before your
right? So
first
that's
sale,
not,
you're just like, this is it,
yeah, I'm
with
going to
zero
do this.
evidence.
Yeah, we're gonna make this happen, right? So we're gonna go. I didn't burn the boat. So I mean, I still had a job. I mean, still working a job and everything. But psychologically, my intent was, and I had a very, a timeline set out in my head, that this is when I was going to end my other job, and I was going to transition, fully into this other opportunity. We were going to make it work, So I was convinced. It's just everybody else that wasn't convinced, and so until you start getting sales, right? And so, like, my family, my wife's family, they're like, "Oh, that's cute," or "That's interesting," or "That's stupid." Like, most people, when I would tell them, I would just see in their eyes them smiling, like, and so they're either just laughing at, and like, "This guy's an idiot," or like, "That's the dumbest idea ever," right? So I can see whether they said it, I could see it, right? And so, but as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing and comfortable, like, just whatever, right? And so, like, don't let that affect you, because there's so many people living quiet lives of desperation, stuck in their different jobs, but they just aren't willing to take the leap to go and try and do something different, because they don't want to give up the comfort of their careers or what they know, right? But I've never had really an issue with that. I'm lucky I have a wife that is super, super supportive and willing to just go with it and support me in trying that. But yeah, my intent was that, hey, we're gonna make this work. Now it's like, what can we do? What's the potential opportunity, from a sales standpoint, where we'll get? I had some ranges as far as what I thought I'd like to do, but the more that we've grown, then the higher that number tends to get. So as far as what I think what we can actually accomplish. So.
For sure. Now, let's talk about how you started breaking into TikTok shop or TikTok and the live streaming content creation, because that's a new area. A lot of people see it. They see other people doing it, but they're just like, is TikTok a fad? Are they going to get banned? Is it even good for my brand? Let's hear your story.
Yeah, well, I can see where a lot of people would be afraid of that, particularly larger brands, right? Where they're just like protect the brand, and I'm new, right? And so like
They
we're
don't want to
still
be
really
associated
early.
with China. A lot of people too, just
Yeah, yeah.
the idea. Yeah.
So there's some apprehension there, and now for us, it was probably August of last year, we really started looking. It's like, hey, we think there may be an opportunity here. We saw a couple brands that were driving a decent amount of traffic from TikTok to Amazon, to their Amazon listings, and they were seeing some pretty big, in the Amazon world, there was a lot of talk the last several years, just external traffic, external traffic. Amazon's getting, giving like all these extra boosts to anybody that's going to drive external traffic to their listings. And so that's where we were exploring it originally. And so we need to go and drive external traffic off TikTok. It's a really easy way to go just post. And we're doing UGC stuff, that content that we're using on Amazon. Hey, let's just like dual post that sort of stuff, and we can drive traffic. And then the thing is, like, on one of my trips to Guangzhou, I met an individual that has some apparel factories, that he also has live streams on Douyin, right? And we talked a lot about it. And one of my trips, I went over there and watched one of his live streams. It's a women's apparel live stream on Douyin, and he's doing like $80,000 to $90,000 an hour, like just super crazy numbers, right? On his live stream.
And just for the sake of all the rest of us, could you give us a breakdown? What is Douyin?
Douyin. So like TikTok in China, right? So essentially, live streaming, the TikTok in China. They're live streaming on a couple different platforms there in China, but Douyin's really the big one. And so they're doing like on their sales there in Douyin's like 90% on live streaming, maybe 7% is off product videos, and only 2-3% is off product card, similar to what people are familiar with from an Amazon shopping standpoint, which is like just a PDP, or your Shopify, your Amazon listing. And so that's just a small fraction of their sales, mostly live streaming. So they have these pretty complex studios, like really nice setups, big teams running multiple streams at the same time. So I actually went and went and visited their studios and watched the live streams, and that's when my eyes were really open. Like, holy cow, this is where social selling is going. This is where e-commerce is going. It's just China's 4 or 5 years ahead of where the US is. And so we need to start looking and seeing what we can do there from a live streaming standpoint. And this is really, TikTok Shop was just kind of turning on at that point. It was just becoming available. I mean, TikTok was big, a lot of traffic there, but everybody's just trying to drive traffic from TikTok to their other platform, Shopify. So that's where I started. I think it was like August. We contacted an agency to get set up an account, and we started posting videos. Didn't really sell hardly anything at all. I mean, really for a couple months, but we were just kind of figuring it out. Maybe it was September, just the end of September, 1st of October, we got going last year. But on just selling on with video on TikTok, but we really didn't have a ton of sales, right? And so the thing is, like, last holiday season, I got really strapped for cash, right? Because we bring in a bunch of inventory, right, for the holiday ramp up. We launched a bunch of new products, and the cash is always a big deal with inventory, right? So it can be 6 months from the time I put a deposit down to the time I actually convert it on Amazon side and get paid. And so we were really, really crushed on cash. And so I mean, this is literally how it worked. Like, I was struggling, like, how are we going to pay for everything? How am I going to finance, like, how am I just going to cash? We're profitable, but how am I going to cash flow everything? And so I was literally praying. I'm like praying to God, like, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to get through the next 2 months from a cash flow standpoint? And I distinctly had an answer, like, from God, that said, you need to live stream. And I was like, on TikTok. That was that was the answer to my prayer. Like, the prompting I had, I'm like, crap, that sucks. I don't want to live stream. I'm not a live streamer. I don't know anything about live streaming. I mean, I've seen some of the studios. I was thinking about like trying to hire an agency or working with my buddy in Guangzhou to actually live stream from Guangzhou into TikTok US. But the answer was like, you need to do it. And so I built a studio in my warehouse. I got things set up and we started live streaming the week before Thanksgiving, and it just like took off. Right. So I think
that's exactly 1 year ago, isn't it?
Yeah. So we've been live streaming on TikTok, for a year now. So yeah, and it was crazy. So it was like, an amazing start.
So let's talk about this getting started. You said you built a studio. Now, some people might have an image of, you got a ring light and a phone. Some people might think, okay, all these soft boxes, multiple cameras and backgrounds. Let's talk about the studio. What was it?
Oh, well, I mean, it was in my warehouse, right? So I put up some drywall and painted it and got some clothes racks because, I mean, we're selling apparel and hung the product up there. Yeah, I had some softbox, just bought lights, some studio lights off Amazon. And so, I mean, because I buy everything off Amazon. And so, yeah, and then I just started streaming with my iPhone, right? So my iPhone 14. And so that was just running off the iPhone. And it was crazy when we first started, and we didn't know what we were doing at all, right? I had no idea what I was doing, but there was so much traffic, very little competition. TikTok was just smashing us traffic. And so we had like my top live, I've had 9,000 concurrent viewers to 3 million impressions per hour. So we've had 8-9 million impressions. There's times where, like when we first started, that we were getting impressions on 4 to 5% of all viewers that were online on TikTok. So it was crazy. So we did our best live. We had $7,000 in sales in 15 minutes, but they capped us at, when we first started on TikTok, we could only do 200 orders a day. And so we were hitting our cap in less than an hour every day. And so then we just like stopped streaming because they hit with a new account, because there's a risk. They want to make sure you can fulfill the orders.
You're not
and all
scamming
that.
too, or something like that, right?
Yeah. So you're just not going to take the money and run with it. And so you had this 200 order cap. So through all the holidays last year, we had this 200 order cap. Otherwise we would have just done like stupid numbers. And so we did like 60,000 in like a week and a half in November, and then I think 90,000 in January, and 100.
Is this what gross sales? 90,000?
Yeah. This is a GMV, the top sales. So 90 in, I think, January. Or sorry, in December, and then it was like 100 in January, and then I think 120 in February was kind of the peak for the year.
And this is all 100% organic, right?
Yeah, there was no paid. I didn't do any paid. So it was all, they were just smashing you traffic. And so it was like stupid. Like, and we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't understand how the algorithm worked. Like, we didn't understand anything. We were just hopping on there, selling, and
just show
so
up.
There's a lot of,
and
there's a lot of
going.
stuff that we know now that if I would have known what I know now, like we would have done just, and again, stupid numbers. But yeah, now more people are on there. So there's more competition, more products. There's more people streaming, and they're just pushing less traffic directly, and they're trying to shift to more paid, right? So they want you to buy more traffic versus just like tons of organic.
So here's what I'm curious about. What was the structure of, like, you hit live, right? First of all, the purchase function. They're buying directly from TikTok Shop, or are you sending them to your Amazon listing?
No, TikTok Shop. Yeah, we wanted them buying TikTok Shop. Because you would actually get policy points if you're trying to send them to Amazon, right?
Yeah, they're not going to give you as much traffic either if you're trying to funnel it out, right?
They'll shut you down, right? They'll actually shut you down and give you violations and shut you down, because they don't want anybody to leave the platform. At that time, they didn't. They're a little more. There's some things changing now, but they didn't want anybody leaving the platform at the time. So if you mentioned Amazon, you could get a violation. If you could literally get your account suspended if you had too many mentions of Amazon. So no, we set up this shop, and so we would do everything within the shop, and then we had it connected to our Shopify. That's how we managed the inventory. And anyways, but everything was on TikTok Shop, and they were doing crazy incentives at the time too. So they would literally, like, say we'd sell something for $40, they would give a customer a 50% off coupon. So the customer would pay like $20, but they would give us 40, but they would also give us a $10 shipping subsidy. So they would give us like $10. The customer would pay 20, they would give us 50, and they were paying us a day after it would deliver. So it was just like, the cash flow was just absolutely amazing. It was almost
investing
like
heavily there.
We had like, we're having like 95% margins. It was like stupid. And the cash flow was like, so that's what saved us. That's what, like, from a business standpoint, I wouldn't say save us, but it just really helped us get through that really tight cash period. And so it was the answer to my prayers. I mean, God knew what he was talking about when he said, go and do it. It was just, I was not wanting to go and do that, but
you know what?
It's changed.
You're kind of quoting scripture here, and I'm gonna, the story that comes to mind is when Jesus says to Peter, cast your net on the other side. It's just like that. That's the other side right there, TikTok, right?
Go over there. Well,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
haven't got anything on that. Yeah, and so that's what we did. Because the thing is, like, everybody that I was hearing about from a TikTok standpoint in the US, it was all video. "Oh, I did this video and it was viral, and, like, we did all made all this money on this video." Like, I've never had a viral video, never had a viral post on we post consistently, we get consistent sales on our posts, but I've never had a viral video where I made a lot of, just had a ton of sales off that. It's been mostly off lives. I mean, I'm doing more off video right now, but it's because we're posting a lot. We have affiliates posting a lot. But yeah, the lives has really been where we've had the biggest success. And so it's been amazing for us.
So with your live videos, let's talk a little bit about structure. Like, is there like a 5-minute loop where you kind of say the same thing over and over because people are coming in and out? Or do you kind of have a programmatic over? Talk to me about that, because I think a lot of people are curious.
Well, so yeah, so a lot of people when they think about like a live streaming, they're thinking like a QVC or HSN, like a TV marketing type thing, and it's kind of like one way, and you're an infomercial or something like that. Thing is with TikTok lives, it's a lot different. One, people on TikTok, people's attention spans are about like a millisecond, right? And so like your average video is like 15, 20 seconds, and so the attention span is really short, and so it's really more like we have a script that we're really talking to, and you're going to cycle through that script in 30 to 60 seconds. And so it's like going Groundhog's Day like 10,000 times, like every 30. So the average watch time on our lives are anywhere from 20 to 40 seconds. Now, you have some people that are on the live for an hour, and they get tired of your repetitiveness. And sometimes they'll say, "Oh, this is a loop. This is a loop." But and then you have other people that are on there a second, right? And so they're just scrolling. So you may like answer a question, and literally 10 seconds later, somebody else is going to ask that question. And so with the TikTok live, it's entertainment, right? So in the US, it's different than in China as well, because China is very sell, right? And that's kind of the model there. In the US, TikTok, they want to be entertained. I mean, there's a lot of people that have exited the platform in the last year because they're like, "Oh, there's too many TikTok shop, too much live streaming just selling." And so a lot of people have migrated to like Reels or to YouTube Shorts and things like that and left the platform because they've seen too much. But yeah, so you have to be like entertaining, right? So how do you be entertaining and engaging, educational, and sell, right? So it's like a combination of all those things. So we have some people that come to our lives just to make fun of our mannequin and make fun of the product, right? So we have our mannequins because we can't model the stuff on lives. We'll get like banned like that because of like adult nudity, because the way the pouch is designed. And so we have our different mannequins that are modeling for us, and they're all named. So Bill is our most famous mannequin. So Bill, like, he models the stuff. And so we'll just have Bill and talk about the structure of the product. And so people will just come on and make fun of Bill. "Oh, Bill's packing. He's really big. Oh, is that Diddy? Is that whatever? Is that?" You have a lot of people just come on and make fun of things, which is fine, right? Because TikTok on lives, comments are huge. Likes don't mean it on a lives likes don't mean anything from an algorithm standpoint. It's about engagement, about comments, right? So how do you get comments? How do you get shares? How do you get sales, right? And so things that you can do to drive comments, like we're going to do all sorts of stuff to do that, to drive comments, to drive engagement, right? And so it helps people stay in the live, but then it also bumps your algorithm score up if you're getting that engagement. So we'll do things just to get engagement, even if somebody's not going to buy something. So you might have some 15-year-old or 12-year-old that's making a lot of stupid comments, but they're making comments. And so as long as it's not spammy, we'll just let them run, because that helps drive up our engagement score with the algorithm. And so, you got to sell to the algorithm, you got to sell to a person. And so it's, how do you do that? But yeah, it's Groundhog's Day every 30 seconds. So from a host standpoint, it can be ultra repetitive, and you can go kind of brain dead as you like repeat through the same thing every 30 to 45 seconds. So,
Wow. Well, at least you don't have to invent new content all the time. Like, you just get better at delivering the same thing, answering the same question, a little bit tighter, or you come up with these analogies like, twig to berry ratio, like all these different things, because you see what the reaction is each time, then it just trains you very quickly. Could you summarize for us if there were like the 5 top things you'd advise someone who's going into this to learn that you learned through live streaming on TikTok?
one is watching, right? So the thing is, there's a lot of brands that they want to do the TikTok thing, but they're not native to TikTok. They don't even have an account, right? And so first is like, one, you need to get an account. You need to actually spend some time on the platform. And so either you engage someone in your team that's actually a TikTok native, or you invest the time to actually get on the platform and spend hours watching live streams, right? So you need to spend a lot of time watching live streams, especially because they're different depending on the category, right? You have like 4 different like major setups the way that you can do a live stream, right? So a lot of apparel, a lot of times you'll see a host full body, but they're usually modeling the product, right? Or, because you got to be product front and center, because somebody's going to scroll, somebody's got to be able to see what the product is without the host telling them, right? So product's got to be front and center, because a lot of people
So you
scroll
got to keep
sound off.
flashing that in front of the camera over and over,
Well, it's
right?
just right there. It's front and center. Like, so you have some live streams where it's like where you got a host. Others is just purely POV, like where it's just like a POV in the natural
Just their
environment.
hands.
It's hands in the product, right? So maybe it's an ice maker. So like ice makers are really popular for about 35 seconds on TikTok, where everybody's doing ice. But like, so it was a POV in a kitchen with an ice maker there. They're scooping the ice. They're doing different things. It's kind of showing how it's being used. And so it really just depends on the category, right? So if it's something you need to like demonstrate versus like a supplement or something like that, the way that you're going to present it, but it's going to vary. And so it's important to like look at some of these different live streams and just see how they're running. And I would encourage people to. The thing is, there's some agencies that are really, really good, and there's agencies that like just want to be really good, and they've just jumped on the TikTok bandwagon, and they don't know anything about selling. And so you have to be careful with them. But we were lucky enough to get paired with a couple people that actually knew what they were doing, that actually are live streamers and do that for other people. And so that's helped us as well. But a lot of it started with my friend, right? And so in Guangzhou, if you're in China, of course, you just you're watching Douyin and seeing how they're doing there. But I would encourage you just look at these high GMV or high sales live streams and see who has viewers, who has engagement, right? And try to look and decompose, why are they getting this engagement? Okay, this has 10 viewers, this one has 10,000 viewers, but they got to spend time on the platform. But then the next thing, you just got to do it, right? Just start and then test. So you just jump on and start, because that's a lot of people, they want it to be perfect. The thing is, TikTok is raw, right? It's not like a lot of polished type. It's not IG. It's not these other platforms. It's a lot of raw, and a lot of the consumers in a lot of cases actually expect a little more of a raw type feel. I've seen some dudes like selling foam mattresses in their garage. Like, it's literally, they got the garage door, looks really almost dirty, like, and they're selling. They got people on there watching. So it's really interesting. So some people like, I have to have this like super polished, I got to spend 50 grand on this studio setup and hire this whole crew. Like, no, drop your phone on and just start going. So
Got it. So number 1 is get on the platform and actually observe what other people are doing, what's working, like a native, right? Number 2 is just start. If there was like anything else you could add to that you'd advise like a younger version of yourself.
Well, you gotta have a deal, right? So a lot of TikTok buyers are deal sensitive, and so maybe it's not like just cheap stuff, but they got to get a little better deal. The nice thing about TikTok is the fees are so much lower that we can give a lot better deal on TikTok than we can on Amazon. And so we want you got to have a deal. So you got to think about your deal. And it doesn't mean it has to be cheap. It means it has to be a good value for what they would have purchased, right? It's not like just you're selling Temu stuff. And there's a lot of like really cheap stuff that's like Temu quality type stuff on there. But there's people selling like $2,000 handbags, right? They're luxury handbag. And so
Really,
you just have to
$2,000
know.
like items going on TikTok Shop.
Yeah, designer bags, right? So they
And
literally
what are the
they're
fees for
selling
that?
individual bags, right? People are selling shoes, like custom shoes and things like that. And so they're high AOV, like high order values on there. So you're not selling to a broader audience. It's a lot narrower audience you're selling to. But that's the cool thing about
But each
TikTok is,
sale it counts for a lot,
yeah,
when you
yeah,
do it
you
that
make a
way.
sale and it's
Yeah.
really good, right? And so the nice thing is TikTok's algorithm is very, very targeted, and it understands people's interest, and it's not reliant on your followers. So you can get really good exposure. Like, we didn't have any follow. I started with nothing, right? And so like, I didn't have, when I was getting 9,000 concurrent viewers, I only had 6,000 followers, right? And so TikTok is not follower based like IG or YouTube. Like, it's virality based. And so if you have a good product with a good deal and you're getting good engagement on the live, you'll get traffic, right? You can get sales, but they know the users really well, and so they can target, the algorithm targets really, really well. And so yeah, you're not getting a massive number of viewers or with some of those lives, but they have a really high order value. So I mean, the biggest, I mean, the sweet spot for like the majority of the sales is like a $30 like order value, right? So to cover the shipping and everything. So that's where a lot of people are at. But we have people selling, items that are north of $100.
So we got 3 tips there. If there's a fourth one.
Yeah, well, you have the deal, but FOMO is a really big deal. So like having flash sales. So that's something we do. We do like a flash sale. So it's like, hey, we're going to do 30% off right now, but it's just while we're on the lives. And sometimes it may be in limited quantity. So you can goose your sales and get going. Hey, we're going to do 5 units at 50% off, right? First come, first serve. You jump in, you get them. And so that can help spike your sales, help drive your engagement, and then gets people to subscribe to you. So like, hey, when we go live, we do flash sales, any 20 to 70% off, right? So you got to follow us here on TikTok. And so you'll get notified when we go live so you can take advantage of the best sales. Yeah, you can go buy from us on Amazon or off our website, but we're always going to have the best deals when we go live here on TikTok. And so you got to follow us so you're going to get notified when we go live so you can pick up the best deal. So there's some FOMO that you want to go and build some urgency. So you got scarcity, urgency. Really good for product drops, product launches, right? Because you can just totally goose sales and drop right from the beginning. We haven't had a problem even with since we have products that have sold already. It's easy for us to come up with a new product and drop it without any reviews, and we can sell it, right? Because we have customers that want a new product launch. If somebody's brand new, you do have to get sales. You got to get sales. You got to get reviews on there because you can literally see the sales on every single item, right? If I look at anything just from a consumer standpoint, everybody can see
And that's
exactly
something
how
you
many.
can't go and edit, right? It's like
No,
it's like
no.
it's on the
You can
record.
you can goose it. I mean, you can go order it yourself, and that counts.
Yeah, aside from that, there's no other way to really game it, right? It's all like real data.
Right, so
That's
you can
cool.
see exactly what has been sold, and so if somebody's just starting on a live and they don't have a lot of sales, you gotta go do some, like, 90% off sales, like, do a 90% off sale for 10 units, 15 units, 20 units, whatever you can afford to do to try to get some sales on that and then get some reviews.
If you do a 90% off sale, is that also on the record for public viewing that it was bought for a ridiculously low price?
They can't see that very well. If you're using
They
some
can't see the
analytics
price.
tools, yeah, they can't see the
Okay.
price that was paid.
Most people can't,
Now
right?
to be able to see the price that's paid, it can actually like provide some like excitement for that consumer as well. It's like, oh, there's a chance I could get it for this price or whatever. But yeah, when you're looking at the
But it could
product
also
item,
cause a lot of people to just hold off and not take any action unless there's that price again, right?
yeah, they got to be able to find it though. Like, and so that's the thing. Is like you have to find the live that's actually doing that deal, and so it's almost it creates this like treasure hunt type thing where people are like maybe scrolling to trying to find the deal. But yeah, you go on any product card and it's going to say the price, that show the image and show the sales quantity there, and so people look at that. It's like, hey, this is only sold 5. Maybe I'm not sure, but hey, this is we've 20,000 of these have sold. They give you the exact number until you get up to 1,000, and it's just rounded. But yeah, so you got to have that get those sales, and so you can do that on the live, right? So you can go and just do a really good sale and drive, or you can do it that with video, but that's something that's really important is to get past like 100 units on things,
100 units.
as far as
Yeah, 3
sales.
digits kind of makes it feel big, right? Like 2 digits, 3 digits, psychologically there's a shift. Couple questions here. Has anyone ever stopped you in public and said, "Oh my God, it's you, the underwear guy," like a stranger, because you've had millions of views? Has that ever happened?
I've had people on my lives tell me that they see me in airports, but they didn't want to. I'm not
Ah,
popular enough now that they'd actually like stop me, or they're like, "Is that the
and
guy?"
take a selfie
And
with you
so
or something.
yeah, I haven't had any selfies. I don't have nobody's
Autograph my
tattooed me.
underwear.
Yeah. Nobody's done it. I've had several people on the live saying, "Oh, I saw you in the airport in Salt Lake City," or "I saw you in the airport here. I thought that was you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah," because I on my lives like it's the thing. TikTok is a lot more genuine, right? And so when I'm on the lives, I talk about my family. I talk about where I'm traveling, where I'm going. Like I talk about what I'm doing. Hey, I'm only gonna do this live for 15 more minutes because I got a soccer game. I went play indoor soccer with my wife. We're on a co-ed soccer team, and so I'm like, hey, we got to cut this flash sale off in 15 minutes because I've got to go play soccer, right? Oh, I'm wearing this compression. I've got a running tight, right? And so like with a compression pant, and so I wear it when I'm playing soccer, particularly when I'm playing goalie. And so I'm like, hey, and that's so I'll do a flash sale on that product because hey, I'm going to go wear it and use it like right after that, right? And so I'll talk about those things. Hey, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be there, and just talking about where I'm traveling, what's going on. So they have a connection to the business. So that's the thing that's really been amazing with the live streaming. Like it gives you a direct connection to your customers, right? So people are giving you direct feedback. One, you're getting direct questions about like the fit, the feel, why it looks so funky, right? But then you have customers that are recurring customers that are coming on and asking questions about the product and providing feedback. And then they're on there preaching too. So there's times where we have 40, 50 customers on our line that are like, because they're on there to try to get a deal because they want another set or 2 sets or 3 sets. I have people that have spent thousands of dollars with this, right? And so they're literally like addicted to underwear, which is fine, right? But they're on the lives and they're like answering people's questions. And so like there's this huge social proof that goes along with the live stream as well. When you have these customers that are missionaries, that they're passionate about the product as well. It's like, hey, we're changing the way that men's apparel is designed. Guys deserve to have products that fit their unique shapes and sizes, that deserve to be like size inclusive. And so they're on there preaching, right? They're an extra small, or they're a 5XL. So they're answering the questions. And so that's like, that helps a ton as well, right? Just from a credibility standpoint, when you're on a live and you have like 10 or 20 other people that are chiming in, answering questions. And so that's a difference. Like when people think about selling on live, that they think of it just as one way. They don't understand this feedback loop, that the community that you're able to build with your customers, as particularly for smaller businesses where like they're talking to the designer, they're talking to the owner of the business and the designer. They can say, hey, can you do this in blue? Hey, can you do this in this? Can you do this in that? And like, hey, we'll look at that. We'll look at, and so we've launched new products based off the feedback that we've had from customers on a live stream, right? And so it's just given us a ton of opportunity to like engage with our customers and build a better community. And then we've had customers go and connect, or like they start chatting in there and then they DM each other and then they connect. And so it's super cool. And so it's not just a one way, it's this interactive community. But yeah, and so it's been amazing in a lot of different ways. That, I mean, we just went in trying to sell, right? And then we got all this value coming out of it because we were open to that, right?
You could take this over to Twitter or Instagram by just doing a hashtag contest for who wore it better. And people have got to take photos of them wearing their underwear. Sorry, that's a side thing. My brain gets a little excited sometimes about random ideas to get attention. Last question about this, and I know we're running a little bit over. Frequency and time of day for streaming. Any tips on that from your experience?
TikTok provides analytics around like when a particular brand's followers are on, right? And so we've looked at that. Ours, for some reason, says at 7 a.m. is when our peak. I don't know if everybody's like on there looking for stuff before they go to work
Commuting,
or what,
maybe?
but
And
it's no, it's yeah, it's AM. It's weird. Yeah, just before they're going to work. But from a sales standpoint, our prime hours are really from like 3 p.m. to like 10 p.m. Where we're selling the most. You see some spiking around noon when people are like taking lunch breaks and things like that. So that's for us, but it really just depends on your customer, right? So the majority for us, 90% of our customers on Amazon are male, 10% female. On TikTok, it's more like 60 to 70% male, 30 to 40% female. Because over 50% of men's underwear is actually purchased by women, right? So they're buying it for kids, for their sons, for their boyfriends, for their spouses, and so there's a significant portion is sold to women. And so TikTok skews heavier to females, but still more males there. But yeah, so kind of a 3 to 10. But it can vary from day to day, right? Mondays are not as good in the evenings. Fridays are good until about 6, or decent until 6, and then it drops off. So there's different times depending on the day. So our best day is usually Tuesday to Thursday, and then sometimes Saturday can pop off really well. We don't stream on Sunday, but yeah. So we try to do, we're Monday through Saturday live streaming now. So,
and how many hours a day?
4 to 8 right now. And so I was doing all the live streaming, and I was only able to do like 2 a day, like depending on what my schedule, because I'm running the business too, and then trying to live stream. And so I was doing it solo. I didn't have any help. I had my data science director. He was doing it occasionally. So he would kind of did that a few times. And he was doing stupid numbers too, like 10 months ago, and he's a programmer, right? But yeah, so we're doing like 5 to 8 hours, and hopefully Friday we'll get our Spanish stream going. So we'll have English. So this is English, 5 to 8 hours. My goal is to be 10 hours a day English, 10 hours a day on Spanish. So we'll have our first Spanish stream hopefully tomorrow afternoon at 5. I'm still working on the studio. So as soon as we're done here, I'm going out and working on the studio tonight to try to get the Spanish
exciting
up and going. But yeah, we're super excited about that because Spanish, U.S. is the second largest Spanish speaking country in the world. So tons of Spanish speakers. So a lot of viewers on TikTok. very little content, very few sellers. And so we're super excited. We think there's a massive opportunity to make some headways there on the Spanish side.
Following up on that question, is there, let's say you did have the personnel and the talent, is there a negative for streaming too much? Let's say you have 3 8-hour shifts and 3 guys doing that. Would there be reason not to, if no reason not to?
No, I mean, it's just diminishing return. As far, I mean, like, there's just some hours that aren't maybe going to be as good.
Yeah, but for example, let's say that, I don't know if you pay them hourly or commission based or both, but let's just say, for example, these guys are like a couple $100 an hour or something, right? They do 8 hours, that's a good day. It's over $1,000. And if you're making more than that in profits, is there a reason to not do it?
No, if you're making money with that. So it's really a balance between like, hey, are you making money on lives, or can they make more if they're doing content? So I have my hosts going and creating like video posts. And so on times where there's not as much like activity right now. Now for the next like 20 days, we're going to be like hard on the lives.
Yeah, we're
as
going
much
straight
time
to
as-
Christmas, man. That's
Yeah.
those
But so, like,
stockings.
the last
Dude,
10 days,
like-
we have been spending several hours a day just doing videos, right? Because we're trying to get a lot of holiday content created so that the algorithm from ads, because we are doing a lot of advertising now on TikTok. We use a GMV Max ad algorithm, so campaigns. And so we are doing a lot from a video standpoint. So we needed to get a lot of content out there for that algorithm because it's just content hungry. And so we did 19 posts 2 days ago. I think I only had 10 posts out yesterday, just branded posts, right, on TikTok. But we're really trying to get 10 to 20 a day on there to feed that algorithm. But no, if you're making the margin on it, so there are brands. There's some women apparel brands that they're live 20 hours a day, right? So I mean, you're dealing with multiple time zones, right? So you're 4 time zones. So you're covering East to Pacific, and so you get some pretty good coverage. There's a lot of viewers anyway. So, but yeah, if the margin's there, we have the people. The big thing for me is just getting people, like hiring live streamers, because nobody knows what a live streamer is, right? And so like it's been really hard for me to hire live streamers. I've had LinkedIn posts and I'm posting on TikTok and promoting the job boards. I've gone on career fairs. I've presented at marketing classes at universities, like trying to hire people to come be live streamers. And they're like, what is that? So that's,
and do you have females doing it too?
I had a female streamer. She was doing really, really well. And then it's like, she had her own business. And so then, she does face painting and stuff like that. And so like during the Halloween, she got just solely focused on doing all that. She did quinceaneras and a bunch of other
I just imagine that because of the subject matter, a woman would do very well, because
she did really
now it opens up a whole new section of ideas that you can joke with and also be playful and just a little bit suggestive in the way things are spoken, things that a woman can that a man can't say, right? So that would be a fun thing to put in, I'd imagine, from an entertainment perspective,
as well as being like approachable for a female buyer, right? And less intimidated. And just asking questions, hey, how does it fit your husband? And so like asking some of those questions, they're more apt to ask that. So like our top affiliate is actually a female, and she goes live. And so she has 150,000 followers. She's done really pretty well with the lives. And so but she's doing a lot of other brands. So she's in her 60s. And so she does a lot of anti-aging and cosmetics and some other apparel, some women's apparel, but I'm our largest like partner. So yeah, so she does really well. So we want to have a lot more women. So I work with like Join Brands. So I've used Join Brands to source UGC creators, and probably like 80% of the creators I've sourced off Join Brands are females, right?
I love what you said there. I want you to say that one more time. That woman in her 60s. And there are people in their 30s saying, you know what, I'm too old for TikTok, too old for streaming. And now we have a 60-year-old woman who is making bank by doing content creation for you. Men's underwear. That's amazing. That needs to be the headline. 60-year-old women live streams men's underwear.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of people that have these different
they're hung up.
thoughts.
They just
like
think
TikTok,
that
right?
it's all up here, it's nothing to do with your age. Just try it, right?
Yeah, just go and do it. And so like, yeah, most of my affiliates are 40 plus that are on TikTok, right? It's not younger individuals that are creating a lot of the content for on the shop side. I mean, they're creating their own entertainment content, but they're not like as engaged to the, from a from a sales standpoint. They're not trying to make money necessarily. I mean, they want to get monetized for their content, their creativity, but it's the older people on the platform they're in there to go and make some money. A lot of stay-at-home moms, hey, I'm going to go and like create content, and some of those videos like totally popped off. Like it's amazing how like you have had some of these creators that are, it's a 35-year-old single mom with 3 kids and making $30,000 a year, and she goes and posts the video and it pops off and she makes 200 grand. Like it's crazy. I've some of the stories and it's kind of life changing for some of these individuals, but you got to be willing to put yourself out there. And so that's where a lot of people are just not like just willing to go and post and try. And you'd be surprised at what they can actually do if they'd actually try, but they're just afraid to do it. But yeah, most of our affiliates are 40 plus.
All right, we got to wrap this up. But what I'd like to do is wrap these up with a question for the listener, because a lot of times instructions are telling people what to do. We've had too much of that in our lives. But if you ask them a question and they ask themselves something, it might get them to think differently. So if there's a question you'd ask someone in order to help them see this differently, in order to help them see what opportunity is available for them, or maybe to just help them get moving in the direction that they already know they want to go, what would you ask them?
Just say, what's stopping you? Like, what is holding you back, right? You have to identify that. What's the barrier, right? What's stopping you from trying? Is it fear? Is it, a lot of times it's fear, but I mean, what is that? What is the thing that's stopping you from trying? So maybe it's time, maybe, it's different things, but that's what I'd ask.
All right, Jared, thank you so much. And to all the listeners, ask yourself that question. What is stopping you? And if this story inspired you, then I just want to ask you to please go check out the links. We'll have a link to Jared's store.
RMAC.com.
Oh, that's store.
RMAC.store. So you have to do the .store. So that's might be a hang up for some. Or search first on Amazon. We like branded search. Real Men Apparel Company. So Real Men Underwear on Amazon will pop up right to the top. Just don't click the paid. Go down and don't.
Yes, let's get us some organic traction here. Organic growth.
Yeah, or Google us and for Shopify, or follow us on TikTok. So that's what we'd encourage you to do. Just search for Real Men Underwear, Real Men Apparel on TikTok, and look for the rhino. So our logo is a rhino, a battle rhino. So it's a rhino head with the kind of this helmet on, like a Roman helmet. So it's kind of funky, but funny. So it's supposed to be strong but funny, right? So don't take ourselves too seriously, because we sell funny looking underwear that's just going to like change your life from a comfort standpoint. So once you try it, then you'll not go back. So you got to be prepared that it's just going to change your life. But people don't realize how uncomfortable they are until they actually wear something that fits their body. So
thank you for that, Jared. Seriously, guys, do check out the links below. Also check out Jared on LinkedIn. I believe that's where I've seen you the most active outside of TikTok, and have a look at what he's up to. And until then, I'll see you guys all next week.
No hustle, worship here, we're a different breed. Action is what we got if action is what you need. Content capitalists, we're breaking the mold, cause the old ways stay, new stories to be told. So content capitalists, get to the prize.